Yeah, basically, you know me and Pavel, and we've been doing this auctioning stuff for like 3 years already and talking about it. I'm not gonna tell what we do and etc. I'm just gonna. You'll know that we kind of choose this traditional way of evolve and do the fundraising. No ICOs, no internal coin. This philosophy of Pavel you can see inside of the protocol living for all those years. And it's been hard. It's been really hard, and we've been struggling with this kind of traditional institutions. Currently, as you know, we've narrowed down to the automotive industry, and we're now based in Berlin, and we're part of Techstars. And actually, like, it's a painful process in a way for like a startup, like any of the startup, right? To strip away this equity for like the pennies. And when you see like the market of this blockchain-based projects evolve in a completely different way. But on the other hand, I really want to highlight that choosing this traditional and really kind of painful way, in a way, matures the product and the team, and you become kind of a street rat that kind of is undefeatable in terms of like you can adopt, see what the problems are. And I'm really kind of grateful for all those years that we've done through. And just to explain like what we do simply, we've been overcomplicating for years and years, but it's like what we do. There are like hundreds of leasing and corporate companies like leasing, renting, insurances who have like tons of millions of units of cars returned on balance, and then they have to auction them. But they currently do in most outdated and antiquated systems and most inefficient way you can imagine, because they partner with kind of marketplaces, single ones, and they bound into a kind of a single ecosystem, and the entire market is siloed. So what we really do with the blockchain and with our protocol, like most of the blockchains and protocols do, we just connect the dots, right? We just connect the dots of the siloed markets, and it is same from an industry perspective, a usability perspective. Like the connecting the dots is like the same approach that each of the platforms do. And like 2 days ago, I was like on a meeting of those like many blockchain-based projects and all that protocols, and what I've seen is that like, what is the greatest issue? Everyone asks about like the blockchain you do and the protocol you do and the services you offer, and everyone is talking about the scalability and kind of technical aspect of how we're going to scale and when we're going to have this problem and etc. But what I realized that the biggest part that is missing from those talks is something that should be before the scalability, because before you have that problem, you should have users and like user acquisition. Like, how do you really acquire your users and clients? This is I think that most of the projects should ask themselves first here, and then those users create the scalability problems in the future. Because I'm talking about users, just to highlight, not the investors who invest in your crypto and make transactions like and wait for something to come, but the content that is created from your distributed network and who sees the value and uses it, and it will become like a massively adopted and etc. So in a perspective, we look from this industry thing, you're going to see that actually blockchain does what it does, that it just reintermediates the market, the silo markets, and create the kind of a platform and replaces an all scalable kind of single points all around the world into industries, and trying to create this kind of global networking and matching effect. But how do you create, like, apart from the huge amount of money you gather, how do you really transition into a usability? How do you acquire customers and get adopted your services, the content created? How do you do that matching service between the counterparts that exist? This is the question. And for that, like, it's like natural. You have to kind of create this natural pull strategy. And I started like to look at it like, how do you solve it? Because we launched now in the automotive industry, and we've been experimenting like acquiring users, and that's what we do like every day, and like going here and there, like different corners. And how do you create that pull strategy, natural one? And there are like several kind of easy steps that used by different companies over the years of the internet, etc. And I want to talk about like first is the follow the rabbit, and I'm gonna like talk about this like from a perspective like what we see like a BIP001 case, right? They have that platform of answering and creating like hashes of data and storing, but what they did is that they create the use cases, they create the kind of staging value of how it should be used. They enter the market, and they trying to then scale and gather more clients from this perspective. It's a kind of a good strategy in a way, but if you're positioning your platform for more diverse services, that it might lead you to a kind of a closed circle, and you might not want to be on the service part of your infrastructure that you provide. The second one, I think this is important. Like most of the blockchain projects is isolate themselves as if they're different customers from other dimension and different users who's going to be using the services, and they try to say okay, I'm not competing with anyone. I'm not kind of partnering with the existing centralized, those bad guys and etc. And that is wrong actually, because in the end, when the time comes, like post-ICO stage, you're sharing the same clients you have to do. And feeding on the existing marketplace, especially for the payment systems, especially for some kind of thing, there has been a kind of good cases of adopting that. Seeding strategy is kind of creating a content yourself. And I've been using yeah, it's good, you can have that features and etc. But what about what if no one creates the value? And that has been I questioned and I looked for the dating services. Actually, dating services are like applications. There's a platform for matching and love finding and sharing stuff, right? And you're gonna see that most of such kind of content creating and kind of viral things, they created the network effect by creating and seeding some fake data. And actually, this is something that we've been considering, feeding on the existing kind of listing and inventory and creating attraction. And most of the marketplaces and most of the platforms in the past have done it. So blockchain platforms with the content or matching services, I think this could be a good strategy. Marquee strategy is prioritize, big names, and especially what we see in R3 or Corda protocol and this kind of big guys, closed club, where we got huge names and etc. That should bring this natural pool of the users and the user bases. But it's questioning. We're gonna see how it's gonna work out with the big names and who's gonna win, the guys who are against all those big names and kind of diminishing everything, or the guys that create this club that attracts. Single-sided autonomy, this is something we started off lately, because if you look from the infrastructure perspective, blockchains have this massive positive thing that you don't have to really have a networking effect, but as an infrastructure, as a node and kind of a module, it can be used separately. So if the node, full modular thing, can operate in a closed loop system where the seller and the buyer and the service provider can be one entity, in a way it already provides the benefits, and you can create this kind of siloed things and then create. And this is something we're trying to now launch with the leasing companies, giving them the remarketing function and as well the kind of infrastructure. Big bang high, push, done. Yeah, this is something that we observe, and it's we hope that, yeah, you reach out to people, you bring it in by this value and money making, and it's a good factor, to bring, and some to retain the customers could happen. But as the competition grows, and as we see this hype growing and the multiple counterparts and blockchains, in a way that will cause that retention, to remain those customers and clients and make them your regular users of the content at the network will be harder. And micro market show, it's it's a good case. If we yeah, blockchains are global, we position ourselves straight away to start off with every country and every accessible open up. But sometimes it makes sense just to position your protocol for the specific country or specific kind of particular users that have already an interaction, and that create the value and scale up from here, because then you're gonna have evolutionary improvement, and you're not gonna have a kind of a vision thing, lost lots of money, and in the end you ended up rewriting everything. Yeah, I think that this is important part that is missing from the blockchain things, and we as a team we really, in a way, yeah, it's really bad, and sometimes I look around and ask Pavel why we're struggling so much, why we have so much pain, and why we have to give up so many equity and stuff when we can raise differently and think. But on the other hand, it helps, and it leads us to be better every day. And this strategy and kind of getting to clients first, I think that is important in our new world of blockchains. Yeah, thanks a lot, and see you.